This is the Starlight Express Alumni Podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Dennis Courtney and I am a Starlight Express alumnus. My journey began with the North American tour in 1989 and I was with the tour for 14 months. And there's lots of stories to tell.
That's pretty awesome. Of course, we worked together, so that was great to share the stage with you, and we have history, and that's awesome. Now, let's go back to when you first heard about Starlight Express. How did you hear about Starlight?
Well, I had been a competitive figure skater on roller skates and ice skates. Ice skates in the winter and roller skates in the summer. And so when the show had come out, that was the big talk in the skating world, was that there was going to be a show on Broadway. And so I made sure that I auditioned for it. The first time I auditioned was out in LA because I was out there working. And they had come out for auditions and it was Arlene and Vinnie Liff and, you know, that gang. And I got a call back to come to New York. But at the same time, I got cast in a Broadway show called Rosa, which was being directed by Hal Prince. So I took that, which was a big mistake because it flopped. But so luckily, you know, they didn't take it personally. When the tour came along, I auditioned again and got Flat Top, which I was thrilled to do.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Now, you got the audition. What was the audition process like?
Well, it was, I remember there were thousands of people, and it was also covered by the press. Entertainment Tonight was there, and the networks were there. It was a big deal. So it was kind of terrifying because what we did is they put us all out in this roller rink that they had rented for the day and kind of just looked at us. They told us not to do anything showy, just to kind of skate around to see what we look like. And then they made a cut right there. So I thought, okay, the show had been in London, had been in New York. They knew what they were looking for. They cut a lot of people and kept about, not many, a couple dozen of us, and then had us do what I would consider speed skating, which is kind of like the thing we did in Starlight Express. You know, the way that we stroked and the way that we pushed, which was different than my figure skating, which was a thing I had to learn again later that Michael Fraley beat out of me. So we did that. And then they asked us to do tricks. And I did the tricks that I knew, which were spins and jumps and that kind of thing. And then I remember Vinnie Liff came up to me and said, well, they're going to call you back, but I also want to know if you can tumble because we want you to maybe do tumbling kitties and cats. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll get a job out of this one way or the other. And then had the call back in New York. I remember having to fly myself out to New York and doing it. And I was a nervous wreck. I don't know why. I just really wanted the show badly, really badly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're a figure skater and all that. And so it's funny that you said that later on down, Michael Fraley had to get that out of you. What was the difference between the two?
Well, in figure skating, when you push, your free leg goes back diagonally on a 45-degree angle with the toe pointed. And if you do that holding on to somebody, you're going to trip them, right? If you go back. So I had to learn how to push out to the side and replace my foot. Well, you know, 10 years of doing that 8 hours a day in my training, I completely had to retrain it. It was a beast for me not to push back and not to point my toe backward. It was just a whole thing, you know, and eventually I got it, but it's something I had to remind myself really the whole tour.
Wow.
Back. Yeah.
Because it's interesting because then it was counterintuitive for you.
Completely.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you did the audition, went through the process, and it sounded like it was very exciting. My goodness, with all the press and everything like that. So you got asked to do the show. So from there, what happened? What was the audition? Not audition, but the rehearsal process. What was that like?
Well, and I forgot and neglected to say that, of course, we had to sing and dance also. Oh. And that's what I was, you know, it's kind of, I know. And it's astounding, Peter, because people don't believe me today. I tell them we were not pre-recorded. We sang live. Mm-hmm. I said you had to act, dance, sing, and skate live all the time. And nothing that we did was pre-recorded except a little bit of the races for the tour. But people are astounded that we did that and we sang. So that's really why I wanted to do it, because I thought, you know what? How long can I do this? How long could I possibly be this strong and be able to do this? It was kind of proving to myself that I had that sort of inner strength to do it.
Well, I love that you mentioned that because it was all live. It was all live, and it's just fascinating that people thought that we had a playback or something like that. So
yeah,
incredible. And so now you're from, and it's interesting. It's great that you say that because of the work that you're doing now, because you're directing now, and
right.
And so you're coming from a filter that's really incredible, because the different shows that you've done as a performer, and then that you've done as a director, and choreographer. So you have an incredible appreciation for each show and the challenge that each show presents to the talent that's hired to do that show. So that's fascinating. And I know a lot of times people would come up to me when they knew I did the show. They would be fascinated by the obvious physical challenge of the show, but the obvious, I guess, for some people, just the challenge of singing the show. So for you as a singer, what's some of the things that you had to do for the show to help you to really sing it and do the actual physical part?
Right, because like many of us, it wasn't my first show, but it's my first show on skates, and singing while you skate, going up hills, spinning, jumping off things, and having to hold notes for a very long time is not the same as standing and centering and holding your diaphragm. It's just not. So it was really another challenge for me. And this was a personal challenge because everybody was so good and the singing was fantastic. But I always wanted for myself to make sure that I sang every note, every show, 100% commitment. So I would develop that strength. So I could sing that high note of Electra in the Electra whirl, where I had the high A, while we were spinning and jumping, that I could hold that note and it not wobble and it not go off pitch. That was a personal thing that I had for myself. So again, when I direct shows today, like you talked about, dealing with the people I deal with, Starlight Express gave me really high standards and made me very, very strong. And so today, as supportive as I am, I have a hard time with people who tell me that it's hard to walk and sing at the same time. Or that, if they have to do a kick on the right leg and then sing, that it's too tiring. I'm like, you don't know tired. You don't know tired till you do Starlight. You don't know. You don't know. So it can be done.
Yeah, I know. It's, doing the Rockies was one of the things that I did most of the time with the Rockies. On the tour, I did Bobo, the French Train, but I covered the Rockies. But typically, I did about 8 contracts of Starlight, and most of it was in Germany on that massive set. But I did most of the time it was Rockies, and I did first cast Rocky a lot of time. And so doing that handstand roll down into while I was singing was one of the most challenging to hold that note, because like you, my challenge was I wanted to sing up because I wasn't a singer. I was a dancer, and then I was able to roll skate. I was very physical, but I had to learn how to sing for the show. So, but you coming from a position as no one can come to you and say, I cannot do something. That's awesome.
I've seen it done. I've had to do it. I've seen my friends do it beautifully, and it can be done. It's a matter of just digging into that inner strength and deciding you're going to do it. Right. And that it's important for you to do it.
Well, okay. So we spoke a little bit about you and the challenges that you were presented and you overcame, obviously. So what else about the rehearsal process that comes to mind for you?
Wow. Well, the first thing was I was a bit intimidated by the people who had done the show already. Not because they themselves were intimidated, but because they were just so damn good. And the first day of rehearsal, it was apparent that these were warriors and they knew each other. And here I was coming in, this new kid, and I thought, how am I ever going to get to this level? How am I ever going to get trusted by these people to hold on and be part of that train? How will that happen? And so that was my first feeling, was I had to get over that. Because if they weren't doing it to me, I was doing it to me. Mm-hmm. I was not quite sure that I was strong enough to do it. You know what I mean? Mentally, not physically. I knew physically I could. I didn't know that mentally I was going to be able to make it through that boot camp, which is what we had. You know, it was just like, I was okay doing the exercises and doing the skating exercises, but when we got together with people and held on for the first time, I was afraid that I would do something to harm someone. So I had to work past that, and it was just me getting my confidence that I indeed could be trusted to handle this show.
Now, what were some things that did you do anything specific that helped you get comfortable with that, and at the same time build the trust with the others?
I did. I talked to, if I remember, I think Angel was in front of me, and I remember making a point of trying to befriend him right away and let him know I was a little bit nervous. And then I thought, don't tell too much, because you don't want to show too much vulnerability because you don't know these people. But at the same time, if you're honest enough and you say, you know, I'm really, really trying hard here, help me out if you can. And as soon as I did that, everybody was right there. I mean, if you recall, we had a very, very family sort of feel, especially on the tour. And, you know, and then I had, who was it behind me? I guess it was Anthony, Dustin. I'm remembering in my train. They had both done the show before. And so I felt once I got their friendship in rehearsal, I knew that it was okay. That at least I would make entrances okay. And I could get my show started well with the freight train. And I wasn't going to, you know, be responsible for killing anyone or responsible for a train wreck the first day of staging rehearsal.
Well, we did hear about in one of the interviews. We did hear about that great wreck that we had when we passed on that.
St. Louis.
Yes.
The great train wreck of St. Louis. Yes.
Yes.
Out on the donut. That's right.
Yeah. So
that was the only one, right? That was the only big one we had that I remember.
Oh yeah. For that tour, yeah. I've had many other train wrecks where we had in Germany, where Dion McHugh, the director at the time, said, "Okay, all stop." Okay, and actors go to your dressing rooms, and they had to reset the whole show. Wow. So you know, I've done that. I think we've done that probably 3 or 4 times in my history. But that was the only train wreck that we had. But we didn't stop the show in St. Louis. Right? We kept going.
No, we did not. It was, because it was that in light at the end of the tunnel. So we were at the end anyway. But it wasn't a pretty curtain call. I think the audience still appreciated that. So it did. And nobody really got hurt. If I remember, nobody got seriously injured.
Yeah, no one got hurt. No one got
embarrassing.
Yeah, and trying to get up off the floor, get back on stage was funny. Yeah.
So funny. That's what I worried about, and also because Arlene had worked for so many years on the show, and she had such a strong idea of what she was looking for. I knew that, unlike most shows where you come in and everybody's starting out, we had a lot of catching up to do the new people. Mm-hmm. We had to come in and work with people who knew what Trevor wanted, who knew what Arlene wanted. And we had to just get in there really, really quickly, you know? And so that was, the first couple of weeks were rough.
Yeah, I remember when I was asked to do the tour, because I had already done German Starlight. I already had about 16 months under my belt as far as doing the show. And I remember they wanted to get everyone that had already done the show, because they wanted to make sure, because it was a different stage, they wanted to make sure they had less time rehearsing, train just to get it quickly up there because of the time it would take. And but it was the greatest experience being the U.S. tour. And Renee also agrees, and many of us that were on the tour, Reva, Jimmy Lockett, all of us, Anthony Galdi, they've all done the interview and been on the podcast. We all agree that was one of the most exciting, and like you said, family, really felt the family of that, and it was pretty awesome. It was great. Now you went through the rehearsal process, you overcame the challenges, and you built the relationships. And of course, we know hard work brings respect. So I know you worked hard. So that definitely, everyone respected each other, you know, so much, because we were going through the grind every day. And so opening night, what was it like for you opening? What were some of the moments that you remember the most from opening night?
The greatest thing, Peter, I don't know if you know this, but we opened in Cincinnati, and that's where I'm from. And so it was coming home for me. And I had an interview that day that we opened in the balcony of the theater. And as I was being interviewed, I remembered that my high school graduation happened in that theater.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. I just remembered that last time I was in this theater, I was marching up the aisle in my cap and gown to get my high school diploma. And all of my friends are coming tonight to see me open the premiere, really. It was the premiere of the tour. So it was thrilling. It was thrilling. It was probably more exciting for me than a Broadway opening.
Wow.
Because, you know, Broadway's exciting, but you're in New York and it's very pressureful. But this was like coming home, and this was having all my friends from high school come and my teachers come. And it was all very much kind of like, wow, look what's happened. Isn't this great?
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And a little tiny thing that excited me, and this is when I knew in rehearsal I was okay, because we were staging Freight is Great, and we got down on the level and we stopped, and Arlene was not happy with the choreography she gave us. And so she was standing there, and something in me just said, well, we could do shuffle, ball, change. It's exactly what the music is doing. Then I thought, shut up, no, because, you know, wrong, Dennis, she's a choreographer, but she loved my idea. And so that whole step, shuffle, ball, change, that's I gave that to her. I my suggestion, which she took. So I was thrilled that whenever we got to that section, I went, oh, I helped. I helped
awesome.
you. But
That is great.
It's a tiny little nothing, but to me it was a personal victory, because I knew that, you know, that Arlene didn't think that I was an idiot. You know, that she respected my idea. And I thought that was really good.
That's right. And you know what? Here you are now, directing and choreographing.
Right.
Awesome. So now, a little side question here. Do you allow artists to give suggestions?
Always.
Awesome.
Always. For me, it's always collaborative. And I say the director's job is to take all of the ideas, including his or her own, and make the final decisions about how the piece is shaped. But I think you're doing yourself, the other artists, and the show a disservice if you don't allow input. Yeah. You know, and you learn as an actor, there's a way to do it.
Right.
You know, there's a way to give a suggestion without being insulting or condescending. And so, no, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I try as often as I can to credit the actor, you know, because being an actor for so many years, I understand that you don't want to be silenced. You want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's awesome. That's a great story. So many things I don't know. This is what I'm enjoying about doing these interviews. You guys are sharing. Thank you so much for that. And I hear a lot of life lessons in what you're saying, that you're taking, and not only that you're taking for yourself, but you're sharing with others. And we have a lot of people that are enjoying these interviews that, oh yes, there are alumni that are loving it. The fans are loving it. Fans around the world are going crazy over there. And our number one real fan base is Germany and London, and of course the US. But we also have a lot of up and coming artists that are enjoying this because, and I didn't know this until some of them I started asking you, what do you like about it and who are you, blah, blah, blah. And they would say, well, I'm 16 years old and I'm a dancer and I want to be on Broadway one day, or I'm an actor, or I'm a singer, or I'm working at the Walnut Theater, or I'm doing, let's say, upstate New York show. And we're loving that. We're hearing about how they started, how the stories of the audition process, of the rehearsal process, and what did you do? Like you shared when you made that comment, that recommendation. I was like, oh my gosh, this is Arlene Phillips, and they're loving that. And so what are some more lessons that you can share with those alumni and the young and up and comers?
What the show taught me is that it was okay to to nourish the aggressive part of myself, the aggressive artist in me. And I don't mean aggression as in hostile aggression. I just mean that place where you start trusting your ideas, you start trusting your strength, you start trusting that you might belong, that you have a contribution to make. And before, I just backtrack for a second, I had already directed a big show before I took Starlight. I had directed Cathy Rigby's Peter Pan, which ended up being a big deal. That was my first directing job. And then Starlight came back into my life, and I thought, this is the last chance I'm going to have to do something that's this challenging. So I need to do this because I know I'm going to learn a lot about myself, about being an artist, and about how to collaborate in a very difficult show. So, and that's exactly what I learned from the show, is to trust that aggressive thing that I talk about is really the inner voice that tells you, yes, you're right. Yes, go for that. Yes, make that choice. Yes, trust yourself. Yes, speak up. Yes, try 110%, because if you fall on your face, so what? You will have learned something, and then you'll know where you can go next time.
Wow.
You know, and that's what I learned, because that show requires that. You can't do 50% in that show. You won't make it up the hill. You won't make it up the ramp. You have to go 100%. You have to trust going down the hill. You can't go, oh, I'm going to go halfway, because you'll wipe out.
Right.
So it taught me to trust that aggressive voice in me that goes, come on, speak up as an artist, speak up. Let your creativity come forward. Let your ideas come forward. They're not all going to be great, but they're going to be out there. And guess what? In that, one or two of them might be great. Some of your ideas, in that confidence that you're building, some great stuff will happen.
Yeah.
And I learned
one of the lessons, I love that you're saying that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know one of the lessons that I'm teaching now, and even yesterday at the black belt presentation, and because I'm an old guy, I'm the high. Yeah, I've been doing martial arts for 49 years, and so I'm the most senior, and so I'm at the head of the testing board. And one of the things that I was sharing with them, and you reminded me of that, and thank you again for sharing, is that to have the courage to put yourself out there, to be courageous enough and know that you may mess up, you may make a mistake, but give yourself the permission to be courageous enough to, yes, make a mistake, but then build on top of that. So you reminded me of that. And so thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Welcome. And I'm finding today that it's needed more than ever, because I'm finding that younger people are wanting the roadmap ahead of time. What do I do to get this? What are the answers so I can get the A on the test? How can you assure that I get this? And that's not what our business is. That's not what art is. You know, you can't know all the answers going in. There's no guarantee that every rehearsal is going to be great. Every performance is going to be great. So don't play safe. Don't play frightened. Go for it.
Yeah. And what's great is that, and you're sharing this wisdom that says that if you want to learn something fast, now life is going to take it's going to be like that. It's going to be whatever it is. It's going to take years. But if you want to learn something fast, you get courageous and then give yourself the permission to ask, to try, to do, get out there, try this, try that, and just do it fast.
Right.
That's what I do. When I want to learn how to do something, I right away try 1,000 things fast, but then I don't let my failure or my mistakes bog me down like I used to when I was younger. Oh, yeah. I made a mistake. Oh my goodness. So I spent so much time, wallowing in that. Now I make a mistake. Great. Let me learn from it. Move on.
Absolutely. And it's that fear of failure that stops people from doing what they need to do to get ahead. And that, or else you find people that are trying to be just like someone else because they see them succeed, and then they're never authentic. And they keep going, well, I'm doing everything that so-and-so did. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. And I'm saying to them, but you're not authentic. Mm-hmm. It's not you. Yeah. You need to be you being courageous. You need to be you making those choices, not somebody else, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm still learning that every day. And I still learn from people every minute of every day. And the minute I stop learning, it's time to just be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned from everyone, and so what I've learned to model what they do, but modify it to who I am. This way I am uniquely me, and of course, every day I'm uncovering and discovering me. Okay, what more can I learn about me today so that I can be more of me? And so I love the wisdom you have and what you're sharing. And I love the fact that you're sharing with other people. And that's great. Many of us alumni are doing that. So thank you so much for doing that. Now, what are some things that you're doing now? Because I know you're directing, you're choreographing. So share with everyone some of the work and the passions that you have today.
Right. Wow, a lot. Well, I've been directing and choreographing for 30 plus years now. And the good news is I'm very blessed because I should knock on something. I've not been unemployed. I've been able to make a living, do it in this business that I love. So the secret for me has been to say yes to things, to not assume that here's my trajectory. Yes, of course I have goals, but to stay open to possibilities, because when I was an actor, I thought that was it. Then the directing opportunity came. I said yes to that, the choreographing. Then I was asked to write musical reviews. Okay, yes, why not? Learned how to do that. Now I've done some of that. I have produced things. I have doctored shows. So it all comes from not being afraid to say yes to things. Just go, okay, yes. And in addition to that, I'm now private coaching people's auditions, because after years of auditioning people, I would say 80% of people self-sabotage in an audition who are very, very, very successful. I mean, very, very talented, but not successful because they don't know how to audition. And you can't get the job unless you audition until later in your career when people call you. But when you're starting out, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't audition, you're not going to get work. So I've been doing that, and also teaching master classes across the country in universities, and specializing in audition technique. It's also acting, but it specializes in acting technique and self-confidence and how to find your authentic auditioning self, not what somebody else does. What's going to make you stand out in an audition? And that's become, I would say, it's become my favorite thing to do.
Wow.
It's all tied together, right? It's like your work. It's all about empowering the self and then other people so that we all become more empowered.
I love that. I love that. Now, if people want to find out more about you and the work that you're doing, and even with where you're teaching, where you're sharing your workshops, whatever, how can they find out more about you?
The best thing, well, always everybody has a website. I do, DennisCourtney.com, or I'm not highly active on social media, but I'm enough to keep people knowing that I'm alive and what I'm doing. But the best way is to just go to the website or drop me an email. And I'm happy to talk to people. I love doing it.
All right. Well, of course, guys, everyone that's watching and listening, whether you're listening audio or watching the video on the page, on Dennis's page, where you're watching this right now, right below, it's going to have all that stuff. And like I'm doing with all the alumni, I'm staying up with them, making sure I keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in their lives, because it's just important to me. It encourages and inspires me. But all the contact information will be right below. Now, Dennis, of course, a lot of people are watching this that are appreciating this, the fans, the other alumni, and the young up-and-coming artists, and those artists. And these up-and-coming artists could be that 8-year-old, 9-year-old, or that 62-year-old, because right now we're working with people that are retiring, and we're teaching them how to get into the industry. So they're listening and watching. So I want to give you the last word on this. So what would you say to all of them?
That stay true to what your true passion is. For example, if you're an 8-year-old and you spend your time being happy, thinking about entertaining, sharing your talent, directing, martial arts, whatever it is that you're doing, stay passionate about it and don't let other people dissuade you. Because we live in a world where people think, at this age you do this, at this age you do this. Well, in our industry, we're special people. We decided to take a different course, and we knew that young. In our minds, I remember, in front of the mirror with the hairbrush, singing into the microphone, or dancing when, didn't care who was looking. If you have that kind of passion, stick with it, whether you're 8 or whether you're now 62, as you said, and you want another chapter in your life. Because we work in an industry where you can have a career at any time. You can also step away. You can come back. You can reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably, for me, good advice in all areas of your life, not just what we do, but I think your passion should be whatever you are passionate about. Please don't leave this earth before you do it. Don't, just do it. Just do it. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's so much, there's just inexplicable joy, whether it's getting through Starlight Express for 14 months and saying, I did it. I did that. I'm a warrior in my own little heart. I'm a warrior. I did that. Knowing I couldn't do that today, but at the time I could do that. Or whether your passion is getting the black belt or whatever it is, you know, don't talk yourself out of it.
I love it. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I really thank you so much. I love you for it. Love you, the work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. It's great seeing you guys.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I'm going to watch all the other, I've watched a couple of them. I'm going to spend the rest of the day watching the other podcasts now.
Oh, I appreciate that. And do share and comment, and they're loving the comments, and share what your favorite parts are. What did they say that really resonated with you? And because then when you tell me that, then I take those parts and I share it with the others, with everyone that's on the mailing list of our alumni podcast.
That's great.
You have a great day, and
you too.
I'll be following you and watch what you're doing. God bless you, man.
You too. God bless. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this episode of Starlight Express Alumni Podcast. Next week, I will get together with another alumni. Be sure to subscribe. You can subscribe right here on the website at starlightexpress.club. We are definitely on the iTunes and Stitcher, and we're looking to get on the other platforms, so make sure you check there, subscribe there, and stay connected. If you are Starlight alumni, please be sure to reach out to me if you would like to be on the podcast. Would love to hear your stories and share your story with the Starlight Express fans and other alumni. Look forward to sharing with you next week. Everyone, have a great day.